I'm Jerome Myers, and you're listening to the Passive Investor Show.
The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com. Hey PI listeners, this is John Fortes. I'm making it a point to speak to as many investors as possible. My goal is to position myself to be a blessing to my network through conversation. How could one be a blessing through conversation? The easy answer is by listening. A simple conversation can open many opportunities and doors. I always ask myself this: what do I have to lose by having one more conversation? Going back to high school, I've connected friends and family in my network to one another, even if it didn't benefit me. And I continue those same principles and practices. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. If I can't help you, I probably know someone or something that can probably solve your problem. I'd love for you to become a part of that network. Go to www.johnfortes.com, create your investor profile, and schedule a call. How can I best serve you through conversation? In the words of Clarence the Angel from It's a Wonderful Life, no man is a failure who has friends.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications and real estate funds. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time. Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. My guest today and the pleasure to honor is Jerome Myers. Jerome Myers leads the Myers Development Group, LLC, which focuses on buying broken apartment building businesses and using innovative thinking and solid execution strategies to optimize the operational efficiency of the business. Currently, Mr. Myers is asset manager of approximately 90 units and 90,000 square feet of workforce housing across Virginia and North Carolina, and on a mission to hold 1,000 doors by the end of 2028. Thank you for coming to the show, Jerome.
John, I'm so grateful to be here, man. Thanks for being patient with me, man. I really appreciate it.
Always got to be patient with the best. Always. I appreciate you, man. And Jerome, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, man, I'm a corporate America dropout. Back in 2016, I left engineering and project management role where we built a $20 million division for a Fortune 550 company. I was tip of the spear, had P&L responsibilities. I was employee number 2. We went up to like 175 that first year, and we had about $6 million in profit. My reward for that was spending the holidays laying people off. And I promised myself I'd never do it again. And fast forward to November of the next year, and I got to do it again. I said, guys, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I left corporate America to pursue a dream that was architected on the stoop of an apartment building when I think it was my sophomore year in college. Me and my buddy Duran were sitting there, and we did what engineering students do in their free time, math. And we were multiplying it out. I was paying $395. He was doing the same thing. We both had 2 roommates. So when you multiply that across the complex, the guy that owned it was making $700,000 a year. We never seen him. We never talked to him. It's like, I could live off of that, especially if I didn't have to talk to people. And so we didn't know who to go talk to, right? And so we didn't know how to get into the space. And like, okay, well, we'll just go the traditional route. But when I started soul searching and deciding what I wanted to do next, that's what I said. I want to come back to this. And so, John, I went and knocked on the door at 10 banks, and they all told me I wasn't qualified to do it. It didn't matter about my engineering degree or any of the certifications I had. I hadn't executed that business plan with a property of that size. And so I had to fix houses. And fortunately, I got the opportunity to partner with somebody who had that experience on my first deal. It was a 23 unit in Richmond, Virginia. And I was asset manager on that property, which got my name in the paper. and those banks started calling me back. And so I was able to take those relationships and go do my own contracts. And so that's how we got here, man.
I love the fact that you went out and knocked on the doors, right? So you started just an action step. You created something to do, a process, and say, all right, where do I start? All right, let me talk to the banks, right? So that didn't work out. And what you put out there comes back to you. And that's crazy how you were able to partner and now the banks are calling you. I love that story, man. Thanks for sharing, man. Appreciate that. Now, during that process, when did you start working with passive investors? Was it after or during that deal?
Yeah, so a lot of our strategy is really around having people who are interested in being operators come into the deals with us. We see a lot of folks who end up being passive because they can't find a way to partner or become active in the deals. But for those people who are passive, what I can say is we interact with them on a strategic basis. And as the deals get bigger, of course, we need more people to bring money to the deals. And so, we're working on our first development deals, 120 units here in Greensboro, and we're really engaging with passives on that deal. It's opportunity zone project, so people will be able to harvest those capital gains and defer that tax payment on that project.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, what does the onboarding process look like for one of those members that are kind of looking to explore to be operational? And even if they're looking to just be completely 100% passive, what's that onboarding process look like?
It's a great question, right? So, for those who want to be active, I think the real way that you solidify your experience or your credibility is by signing a bank loan, right? And so for those operators, we're looking for opportunities to get them on a loan. And usually it's going to be some form of a recourse loan in the beginning, smaller project where they can actually be, one of the leads on it. And in that, we want to really get to know the person, understand their values, really dive into what their long range goals are. Because if our goals are aligned long range, then we can walk the process. And when you align that with values, I think you rig the partnership for success. I've done partnerships where I didn't check those things, and we've had some challenges along the way. Something as simple as communication style. One person may only want to have meetings once a quarter and everything else by email or text. Other people want to talk daily about what's going on. And so just being able to work through that, not only how frequently, but what methods that you use to communicate it can be super important. So really get to know folks. The other things that we look for when we're talking to people, especially on the active side, is, are they humble? Or is everybody around them an idiot and they're the only person that has the right answer? Because what we've learned is if everybody is always wrong with that person, then when we show up, we're going to be wrong as well. And so we're looking for people who have great ideas, but also humble enough to know when their ideas may not be the right approach.
That's a great philosophy of the way you're looking at how people are, where they're always right, then you'll always be wrong, right? So that's I love that. That's pretty cool and unique. Now, with your engineering background, I'm sure you have some systems, processes, software, applications that you utilize or implemented in your company to streamline things more efficiently. What is something you had to implement in your business as a result with working with passive investors?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I think makes us special is the way that we dashboard. And we built it from scratch in Excel. But, on a quarterly basis, we can pull up our dashboard and look at the results from our income, expenses, and even a detailed breakdown on the expenses that we had and see how the property is performing. And we're trying to do a few things. One, we want to know how much trapped equity we have in there, what our vacancy days per door are, and I haven't ever seen anybody use that metric, but we use that to identify how we're doing from getting the units filled up the way that they should be. We look at our expense ratio and a few other things. We got 6 indicators that we want to look at on a quarterly basis, and each one of those things gives us some insight into where we could be performing better. And in having that, we make it very simple for the people that have partnered us on the deal to point the finger at the asset manager, which is me in every project that we have, and say, hey, why aren't you doing this? Or, hey, you did good at that, but this probably could be done a little better. And then we can craft a strategy around that so that when we report the next quarter, we can show some improvement or some traction on, making those financials look a little bit better.
I love the fact that you're implementing that dashboard and you built it from scratch, because if one metric doesn't meet something, you can build a system and a process to help improve that metric and roll that to the next one, and so on. I love that. It's brilliant. I believe all companies probably do that in some way, shape, or form, but you sound like you streamlined it efficiently on that one.
I think
Now,
the going to say, I think the other thing that it does, John, is it makes it really easy for people to know whether or not we're going to make a distribution, right? Because one of those indicators is how much cash do we have on hand. And if our cash isn't above the threshold that we set, and our threshold is 3 months of expenses and a unit or 2 units worth of renovation costs, if we're doing a repositioning project, if we don't have that much money in the bank, we're not going to distribute. And people know why, and it makes us it makes those conversations a lot easier, instead of, oh yeah, we're not going to distribute, and it's really like kind of squishy. No, the light is red on this, or it's yellow. We need it to be green before we make that distribution.
I like that. I'm a visual person. I like to see how things are mapping out. It sounds like you just created that process to make it easier for people like me. What is something you do differently from other sponsors that benefit passive investors?
I think I'll talk about what I think other people do first, and then I'll roll back into it. One, I think a lot of people do these waterfalls and they change the splits and some of this other stuff. For me, I don't cap the upside, right? So if somebody comes into a deal and we've got our split, whatever it is, somewhere between 70-30 and 80-20, depending on the deal and what we can actually feel like we can pull out of it, you get that the whole way, right? If it's down, you get it down. If it's up, you get the upside. And, I just don't think that if we outperform the pro forma, that the partners in the deal shouldn't get the money that they committed to when they put in. So for me, it's just a straight split. There's no pref. And the thought is, hey, we're in this together the whole way. You ride all the way down with us and you ride all the way up. And I think a lot of people like the simplicity of that. And for me, that's what it's about, simplicity.
Hey, every operator does it differently. Every operator has their reasons, and that's pretty cool that you just let them be in the upside the whole time. Not a lot of people are doing that, right? Jerome, one piece of advice for the PI listeners.
One piece of advice. I like to tell people to really spend time getting to know who they're working with, right? And, I think it's common knowledge, hey, you need to vet the sponsor. But what does that actually mean, right? You're going to go run the background check to see if they have any criminal stuff out there? Okay, great. You're going to check their financials or ask to see their balance sheet? They're probably not going to give it to you because that part's not important. That should go to the bank. But are your values aligned, right? Do you have consistency in the way that you see life? Because for me, we want to make an impact on our investment and not just make a return. And some people don't appreciate that. Perfect example, if we can install a toilet that is low flow so that we cut the consumption of water in a space where the toilet is old, we're probably going to do that, especially if we've got a property that we're renovating, because we're going to get to that expense anyway, right? Some people aren't going to appreciate that because there's probably a delta of about $100 when you do that. And when you have that delta, that money could have went to the people who've invested in the deal. But long range, our residents probably are going to stay a little bit longer because, it's a little thing, but if you've got a chair height, elongated toilet, those people enjoy that experience a little bit better than if you've got the cheapest toilet that you can buy and it's round and it's not comfortable to sit on. And so really dig into like thought process and approach to getting into it. And I think the other thing I will say is stop trying to maximize your profit and focus on maximizing your impact, right? And it's the spin of the same thing I just said, but I think that we've lost sight of what we're actually in the business of. We are in the business of providing a home for somebody. And it can be somebody who isn't well off. It can be a focus on workforce housing like us, where, you got teachers, police officers, firefighters, all the people that make the world go round, and they just want a really solid, stable place to live. And if you're sucking all of the money off the property, you're not going to be able to provide that environment for them long range. One of my mentors says, if you love on your property will love on you. And so if you're always short-sighted and you're quarter to quarter and trying to get as much as you can each quarter out of that property from a profit perspective, it's going to come back to bite you at some point. And so I just encourage people to love on the property.
I like it, man. Be the operator that cares for the asset, not the operator that lost value because they didn't care for the asset. I love it, man. I love it. Jerome, how can we stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I think the best way for folks who want to learn more about what we're doing is jump over to myersmethods.com. And there you get a free 4-step guide where we talk about our process. If you're interested in being active in some way, shape, or form, we tell you how you can bring stuff to a project so that people are interested in partnering with you. If you're just interested in being passive, we'll give you a way. We've got this 15-minute podcast where I break down the differences between joint ventures and syndications, just so people can understand the alternatives that are out there. Not a whole lot of people talk about the joint venture model. There's a whole lot of focus on syndication. And I just want people to be aware of the different options, because I think when you have those different options, you can make better decisions.
And my favorite question is, what is the meaning behind your company name?
Ooh, so my key principle on the majority of my deals said, we're applying the Myers methods. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? He said, we've been through this a few times. Each time we go through it, we learn more. We put systems in place. We streamline the process. But at the end of the day, it's just all about being consistent, Jerome. And that's what the methods are. It's like we're more tortoise than hare, right? We're nice and steady, and we keep going. And every time I read that book, John, the tortoise wins the race, right? There's some people who jump out there, they get out there fast. They go.
Wait, hold on. The hare doesn't win at all, ever?
He's never won the race. He didn't win it in the movie or the cartoon that I saw. He didn't win it in the book. I think I might have listened to an audio book at some point. He didn't win there either, man. He's jumping out there. He's sprinting. He's taking a break. But the tortoise just keeps putting along. And in the end, I think that's what investing is. Investing's a marathon. And if you sprint a marathon, you're not going to get probably past the first few miles. So I really encourage folks to take a longer term approach and stop trying to hit it out of the park, because base hits consistently are going to win more championships than home runs.
I tell people all the time, I look for singles and doubles. I'm not looking for triples and home runs, singles and doubles. I love that you said that. Base hits, man, base hits. And another thing that you said that resonated with me was the fact that if you're looking for a quick dollar, this type of investment is not. It's a long-term play. You're probably, if you focus enough, you'll keep reinvesting and be able to get through it within 5 years. That's what the people average to do as in regards to replacing their salaries or whatever they ever want to do by stuffing more cash into the investment in future deals. But getting the ball rolling, it's a slow process. It's a compounding process. And I appreciate you for saying it's the marathon. And you'll always probably be doing it going forward, just to keep the ball going, man. You're already down the hill. Yeah,
man. The snowball effect, you can get some real compounding when you get things going, but people don't realize that the majority of things that are massive started small. They want to just emulate the end result.
It always starts with a pebble, right? I appreciate you, Jerome. What a lot of people, I want them to know is we met at the Ultimate Partnership Conference in Boston a few years back. Or was it last year? I believe it was last year. It was a pleasure to meet you, hang out with you for that weekend. And I really got to learn more about you as well. And it was pretty cool. I just want to tell people that I was grateful to meet you there.
Yeah, man. It's amazing how you can create these relationships. And, most people go to those conferences and they don't follow up or follow through with anybody, but we've been able to stay in touch and watch each other grow. And social media is a beautiful thing because you can support each other that way, even if you're not picking up the phone.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Jerome, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time.
John, this was awesome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Don't forget to download your free copy of the Investment Tracker. It allows you to track up to 5 investments, compare sponsors, markets, and most importantly, projected versus actual returns. To get your copy, go to www.projectedreturns.com. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. Remember, if this episode helps you, you can help us by leaving a review on iTunes. I hope you feel compelled enough to share it with someone you think this would resonate with as well. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet, happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.